Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. Joined once again with Ismael Perez. He's got some great books. I'm listening to your Cosmic Origin now. Very, very well done. It's a great audiobook. I highly recommend it. It's very foundational, and then you just start to build on that. And I know the secret government takes it next step higher, and we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that's going on right now. So, Ismael, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for having me back, Michael. It's a great honor and pleasure, brother.
Same. So we briefly started talking before the show about Russia and Ukraine, and there seems to be a little nuclear. We've already seen this several times during the Biden administration, where there was like this nuclear, push that was going on. It seems to be starting up again. What are your thoughts? What's going on?
Well, before I get into that, I just wanted to let everyone know that the reason why I haven't been broadcasting on my channel is because I'm currently suspended for a week. I'll be back next Monday, 3 days from now, with more updates. So, I just wanted to let everyone know I'm getting some emails, I'm getting some DMs, and people are asking me, what's going on with you, Ismael? Like, did something happen to you? It's like, no, I'm fine. I'm well and alive. Like I said, I've been suspended for a week, and I will be broadcasting again in 3 days with an update. What's happening right now is crazy. It's almost like, the Third World War, or at least what climaxes or what leads to the Third World War is inevitable. Now, I was told by Commander Valiant Thor, who is at the head of the United Federation of Planets, and I'll explain that in a little bit, which is an interplanetary organization that consists of 600 to 900 worlds that are part of our local star cluster, as there are different divisions within the greater Galactic Alliance or Federation. And before I get into that, things have to kind of reach a boiling point. So what's happening right now with Russia, it's all part of, you could say, script that was written thousands of years ago. Now, this could go either way, on a negative trajectory, as there are parallel Earths or alternative timelines that are coexisting as I speak, positive, negative, and everything in between. On a negative trajectory, it's like doomsday. It's a nuclear holocaust, hardly any survivors. However, I was informed that the guardians of our universe, which are highly evolved beings, were able to actually make sure that we don't go into that trajectory. However, they did inform me that it will lead to that point, though, to the point where we are, on DEFCON 1, where it's like everyone's, everyone's sounding their sirens, but it's not going to get to the point where they're going to launch intercontinental missiles or nuclear weapons, because of the fact that there are no nuclear weapons. About 2 years ago, the Galactic Alliance did dismantle the entire nuclear facilities on the entire planet, and of course the mass media, and even in some cases the alternative media will not talk about that. There are no nuclear weapons. So everything right now is a hype to bring people into a fear-based type of mentality, because they know the power of the collective. They know that if they could get enough people thinking, or at least feeding the fear of a possible potential nuclear threat, then by virtue of the power of the collective thought, that's what happens. But it's not going to take place, because I was informed that not only did the Galactics dismantle the entire nuclear facilities worldwide within the last 2 years, but they're also not going to let this thing escalate into anything other than just, like I said, they're going to sound the sirens. It might get to that point where it's like, okay, DEFCON 1, we're getting ready to go to war. But in the nick of time, we're going to be seeing some sort of divine intervention. And I believe that is connected to the 31 Atlas interstellar objects that have been coming in the last week and a half, which many people have been talking about. And again, some people are saying that those are the Anunnaki that have returned, that they are some negative ETs that are here to conquest us, or that they are part of Project Bluebeam, right? Which is not correct either. I just wanted to clarify that.
Very good. Thank you. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, they're actually part of a higher cosmic envoy mission that was sent to us by the Guardians. Again, we have to understand that there are so many levels and layers beyond, our comprehension. We do live in a 15-dimensional time matrix, and right now, as I speak, we only perceive reality through the 3D lens. There are, numbers of dimensions beyond even the Galactic Federation or the Galactic Alliance, whatever you want to call it, since the Federation was compromised. And I could actually go more into detail in a little bit, but there are these beings that operate in non-physical states of existence where they are considered plasma. They could literally materialize, dematerialize. They are connected to the quantum field, which permeates all of reality everywhere in the entire universe. So they could literally control reality at will. And so this thing that was sent about 2 weeks ago that everybody's talking about is it an alien threat? No, it's not an alien threat. What it is actually the Guardians are sending a cosmic Sentinel, which is an organic type of spaceship, and it's pretty big. People have already calculated its measurements, that is sent here to actually activate, believe it or not. Okay, some people are going to be like, what are you talking about? The children of the positive, or what we call the benevolent Anunnaki. And again, the term Anunnaki is not regarding just the Nibirians. The term Anunnaki literally indicates anyone that comes from heaven to earth, which encompasses all ET races. So what they're doing is they're here to activate the descendants of the positive Anunnaki, and that explains those that are Rh negative blood type, amongst, of course, the advanced souls that were part of the Starseed Envoy program that are also here in human form. But there are going to be different levels of activation. So those interstellar craft are actually here to help activate what they call the chosen ones. And there are millions of people out there who are going to be activated with superhuman abilities. So I know some people are probably thinking, what do you mean superhuman abilities? Well, believe it or not, guys, due to the fact that we're only using 3 to 4% of our full genetic material, tells us that all the other 96% is actually untapped potential. So those crafts are here to activate, for those that are ready, of course, the other 96% of our genetic material. And a lot of this ties in with what's happening with AI,
Yeah, I saw that the negative side are going to try and present them, because they know they're coming in to help us. They're going to present them as being negative. They're going to Project Blue Beam. They'll probably even do some of that stuff and blame it on them. But yeah, we need to let everybody know this is a very positive thing that these guys come in. It's basically ET disclosure coming at us right now.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's where we're leading in the positive timeline trajectory. It's all heading towards not only the disclosure of what's been happening with the secret society networks, but the disclosure about the ETs, the different alliances that were formed with these ETs, both positive and negative, and then of course the introduction to all the benevolent beings out there that have actually been working from behind the scenes to make sure that the Earth makes it into the positive ascending timeline. Excuse me. Excuse me.
So that positive timeline, the Galactics are preserving it. How did they do that?
Very, very fascinating operations that have been taking place for a while. As you guys know, the Earth Alliance, or what we call the Y Hats, are actually the surface representatives of a larger cosmic collaboration, you could say, that is going on different levels of reality beyond the third. So not only do we have the Galactic Alliance, which is working with the Earth Alliance, commonly known as the Y Hats, but even beyond the Galactic Alliance, we have, like I said earlier, beings that are just beyond the Galactic Alliance that are overseeing the operations of the Galactic Alliance to make sure that they are aligning with, the principles of the Law of One. And these are beings that are, again, they come from higher levels of reality. So within this collaboration, one of the things that they were able to execute, which was a joint alliance between the Galactics, the Earth, Y Hat groups, which, it became like a joint effort, was the establishment of Operation Horizon Shield. Now, the whole purpose of this is, first, to let you guys know that we're not at war with humans. We're not at war, not even with the reptilians or Jaco, because even they were hijacked. They've all been kind of like the minions of this ancient AI collective known by various names. So Operation Horizon Shield was actually designed to neutralize all the incoming AI-based scalar assaults and off-world threats during the final phase of the Earth's ascension, which is supposed to be between 2022 and 2028. And the reason I say 2028, Michael, is because in 2028, this current reality construct that we call the 3D matrix, which was actually imposed on us when we fell from consciousness after the cataclysm of Atlantis, we did fall from consciousness, is what's going to, it's what I'm talking about. It's this 3D matrix. Okay, so this is coming to an end in 2028. It's actually designed that way. When it was first installed thousands of years ago, it had you could say, an end date where it expires. And everybody knows that, both the negative and the positive races. They all know that by 2028, humans will have to make their choice. They're either going to become transhuman and align with the technocratic dystopian timeline where AI controls for 1,000 years, which is what many holy books call the 1,000-year ring of the Antichrist, or they're going to go into the positive timeline, returning back to Eden, right? The organic ascension. So, that's the time frame. 2028 is where this current reality comes to an end. So we either go into a further matrix digital age, or we go into the fifth dimensional Earth reality. Now, part of this operation, which I mentioned, known as the Operation Horizon Shield, was a multi-layered frequency dome. I guess what they did is the galactics and these higher beings, they established a multi-layered frequency dome that was constructed using zero-point energy and tachyon-based technology all around our planet. And so it also activated, was activated through a crystalline satellite network that was actually tied to the Earth's key ley lines and magnetic poles. And that's how they were able to shield any portals from opening up, allowing these negative entities to come in and flood our world, because that was part of the plan, by the way. And also, it acted as an AI countermeasure designed to deflect synthetic wormholes that were, you could say, opened by CERN, for many, many years. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to open up portals, rip holes in the fabric of space and time to allow negative entities to come in. So again, they were prevented because of this operation. So it also prevented AI nanocloud incursions and quantum intrusions from, again, a collective that has been plaguing the multiverse known as the Mitra AI Empire, which is, this is a synthetic collective of many inorganic races, what we call artificial intelligences, that have literally joined forces to destroy what many in the cosmic community called the organic multiverse. So that's what we're dealing with here. And that explains transhumanism. That explains Palantir. That explains, what's the New World Order as I speak. So there's other things that were also implemented by the Galactic Alliance in collaboration with Space Force. Believe it or not, Space Force is Solar Warden in disguise. So when they rolled out Space Force in 2016, or when Trump announced it, what they were trying to do is that was part of a positive, you could say, disclosure program where they were going to use Space Force, and they're still planning the positive timeline to bring about all these exotic interplanetary and stellar technologies to the surface dwellers. And the reason I call us the surface dwellers is because all the other civilizations that are in our oceans, in the Earth, in the hollow Earth, and again, all around us, they are like thousands of years ahead of us. So that's why, it's like they call us the surface dwellers, because we're still like kind of like the Stone Age, you could say. We're still operating with like other technologies that are not advanced. So what they did is they also installed advanced huge bioships from Andromeda. And a lot of these ships were actually designed to, you could say, they're also known as sky arcs. They were designed to emit resonant frequencies that harmonize the Earth's electromagnetic field, because many of times throughout the last 20 years, the cabal tried to disrupt the Earth's electromagnetic field so that there could be a physical pole shift. And as you know, if that happens, there's going to be mass casualties worldwide. Another thing that these space arcs also prevented was solar inversion anomalies that were actually triggered by hostile AI codes, which were, again, sent from other parts of the universe. And there's also another thing that they implemented called the Shield Guardians, which is a select of, you could say, advanced extraterrestrial super soldier programs. Again, these super soldier programs could also be traceable to other worlds and other parts of our universe, and in some cases to other universes. It's not just the super soldier programs that we developed with the breakaway groups that just broke off with the last 80, 90 years, but there are so many super soldier programs that have been implemented through the history of our cosmos to combat this AI threat. So one of the things that they did was they they picked a select group of highly trained etheric warriors, and you could say galactic Jedis that have like crystalline DNA templates in them to go fight these wars. And that's the reason why within the last 3 weeks, we brought peace to the galaxy. I think I mentioned it last time we were here. And these beings are also physical, by the way, but they're also very non-physical as well. They're multidimensional. And yes, believe it or not, they do have earthly counterparts. Some of the people that are here on Earth, little do they know that they are actually operating in these off-world super soldier programs. In either case, there was another thing that was implemented by Space Force in collaboration with the Galactic Alliance, and that was Operation EarthGuard. And, its code name was Terra Protocol Theta 144. This is where we get the concept of the 144,000 chosen ones, which is really just a metaphor describing our potential activation of 144 strands of DNA. And then, of course, this was classified as a active ground level and subterranean security framework. And so what they did is the White Hat Alliance, in collaboration with, believe it or not, a feline race known as the Ormusk from Sirius B, and the Argarthian race, which are the inner Earth dwellers, were able to secure, you could say, the surface and the inner Earth infrastructure from infiltration to ensure humanity's safe transition through the Great Shift. So that was its primary objective. And then in the event, of course, that the dark forces were able to, say, detonate the atmosphere, cause a electromagnetic pole shift, the Galactics did implement some sort of a mass evacuation and certain shielding zones where, they establish certain like protective cities and underground sanctuaries that would pretty much where people would be teleported to in the event that the Earth did have some sort of physical pole shift. So what I'm trying to say is that they covered all their grounds. And again, this war goes goes beyond our world, Michael. This war is a multi-dimensional, in some cases multi-universal, because one of the things that I'm going to break down tomorrow in my event here in Sedona, Arizona, is how this whole war began even in an older universe known as the Old Empire that goes back to 400 billion years ago. That's how old this war is. Yeah. So, it's like Earth is at the center of it all, and this is where the final battle takes place. That's going to completely usher in like a whole new era, not only for the Earth galaxy, but for the entire multiverse. And that's how important Earth is right now,
Yeah. I like how you explained it in your cosmic origin. There's like different, dimensional things are going all around us. And we often think about the angelic realm. So there's a positive angelic realm, of course, and then there's a negative demonic angelic realm, which is they're at war on a certain level, just like we are. And like from biblical times, we see all these passages and so forth where the angels and the demons are fighting. So we hear about that, but we don't conceptualize that it's right next to us. And I thought you did an exceptional job of explaining that, our cosmic origin. So it's really hard to conceptualize it in your mind, but when you can hear somebody like you did in your book, explain it in a very systematic way and build up to it, it really becomes real. So that was a very good job on that.
Yeah, thank you. Because most people think that these other dimensions are somewhere else, but according to quantum physics, based on what they call superposition, they're all around us. They're just operating on different frequencies. So as I speak right now, there are other advanced civilizations that exist in higher dimensions that are actually coexisting with us, but on a different reality. But this is the thing. They all share the same space. We all share the same space. It's just a different reality. Space is an illusion. There is no such thing as time and space. Once you reach a certain level of reality, it's all frequency. It's all frequency. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And going back to the infiltration of the Federation, that infiltration actually began as early as 2018, when a group of the Guardians, known as the Blue Avians, the bird people, came back in 2016. They put like a barrier around our solar system, and I think some of the whistleblowers talked about this, in order to prevent off-world entities from coming in, and also to lock out the Dark Fleet. Now, for those that don't know who the Dark Fleet is, that is a Draco-Nazi secret space program that was initiated back in the 1940s. Mm-hmm. And so, when the Blue Avians came, they locked out the Dark Fleet, because the Dark Fleet was out there wrecking havoc, conquering many worlds in the name of Nazism, misrepresenting us. By the way, a lot of primitive worlds fell under the absolute tyranny of the Dark Fleet in the last 80 years, unfortunately. And so ever since they locked out our solar system, what ended up happening was there was an infiltration that took place through the substrata quantum level of reality. It turns out that this negative AI that, again, we're all fighting in the cosmos, is so advanced that it doesn't operate through the physical anymore. So it travels from universe to universe through the substrata quantum levels of reality. In other words, it goes from electromagnetic fields into electromagnetic fields. It's kind of like it travels through the fiber optics, you could say, through the ethers, So that's how advanced this thing is. So they were able to infiltrate us through the quantum substrata level of reality. And they completely, you could say, influence some of the commanders in the higher levels of the Federation, to the point where they all aligned with artificial intelligence, with the exception of a few. And then to make it even worse, in 2021, 2022, Enki, who is the Anunnaki that completely downgraded humans after the Atlantean cataclysm, that created all the abominations with the chimeras and the different hybrid experiments that were conducted back in those days, and all these monsters. He also returned in 2022 to infiltrate the local federation, which is the United Federation of Worlds. And what he did is he actually began to extract female genetics from women, starseed women on the planet, in order to access the pilot and navigating systems of certain Federation fleets. And when he did that, he was able to present, you could say, to some of the commanders an idea of the future, or a vision of the future. He said, listen, the Earthlings, he told some of the commanders, he showed them, he said, the Earthlings have a genetic potential that is going to one day, once it becomes activated, it's going to give them absolute power. He goes, unless you guys align with AI, you guys will never even match their level of power. So that's the bait that he used to seduce some of these commanders. And so some of the commanders that were, you could say, seduced by this idea of aligning with AI took the bait. However, some of the commanders repelled it and decided to reorganize as the Galactic Alliance. So since 2022, the positive members of the United Federation of Worlds, which again is part of our local star cluster within the greater Federation, reorganized as the Galactic Alliance to continue protecting the Earth until, of course, the ascension takes place. Now, there are different divisions of the Federation, and this is one of the things that I actually break down in one of my courses. There are local star clusters. There are higher, you could say, federated regional councils that oversee multiple clusters of stars or multiple systems. To give you an example, so we are part of a system that consists of 52 star nations with approximately 600 to 800 worlds. Now, our system, with about 100,000 other systems, make up what is known as a regional council. And then there are 100 regional councils that make up what is called the higher or the deeper galactic federation that oversees the entire galaxy. So that's how the Federation is organized. You have the High Council, which is the Deep Federation that oversees the whole Milky Way, and then that's broken off into different federated regions, each federated regions with 100,000 systems. And then each system is also broken off into what is called the United Federation of Planets, or the Association of Worlds. And so from what I heard is that the entire Galactic Federation, you could say, infrastructure all the way to the federated regions was actually infiltrated by this AI collective known by many names. Some people call it the Mitra, and which is the force that is controlling the Draco, which is the force that is controlling the Animus. Now, the Animus, some people call them the Etorians, and they are a physical race in which the AI collective mind hive is able to do their biting. They do the work of the collective mind hive, and this is a synthetic race that has been actually operating in the lower dimensions. Like I mentioned earlier, the Mitra collective is operating at a subatomic level of reality, where it actually influences races, especially those that are cybernetic, to do its bidding. That's how deep this war is, But within the last 2 weeks,
yeah, and even like the super soldier programs, because some people were asking about that. Said, Michael, weren't you in the secret space? I'm still there. So this is when you incarnate, you've incarnated here many times, and you basically get a blank. So it's the same thing in the secret space program. You get a blank. So you work in these different areas. Like, for instance, my soul energy right now, maybe I have 20% of my soul energy. That leaves 80%. So that 80% can go to different incarnations simultaneously. So that's what we have in the secret space program. And it's like what we're talking about, multi-dimensional, multi-level, all kinds of crazy stuff. Everyone's stuck right here in this reality, and that's by design. We're pressed into this reality by the deep state. And this is the thing we're trying to break free from, so that we can experience more. They've kept us down in this, locked us down in this very low consciousness, but we're breaking free. And like you said, 2028, it's break free time. We're pushing hard on these different, negative entities, and they're losing control very quickly.
Yeah, especially since the higher forces, like the Orma feline race from Sirius B, and some of the Andromedans, as well as some of the Arcturians, what they did is they actually deactivated the entire black cube matrix, red cube and black cube matrix, that these synthetic races were using to oppress our galaxy. So that was dismantled exactly 2 weeks ago now, 2.5 weeks ago. And so right now, as a result of that, the entire galactic wars just ended 2.5 weeks ago, you could say, Earth time. And these are wars that actually have been going on for millions and millions of years. Like I said, these wars could be traceable back to even before the creation of our own universe, back to an older universe that was created by fallen collectives, creator gods that decided to, again, become synthetic and disconnect from source, and conducting through artificial intelligence that decided to create their own type of multiverse where, cybernetic inhabitants exist and live. And they've been calling this the Phantom Matrix, which is the inorganic time loop. And this is one of the things that I actually cover in the Cosmic History. And I'm actually writing about this in my upcoming book, is that every war that has ever been fought in the history of our universe, Michael, including the war that completely devastated the atmosphere of Mars 2 million years ago, as there is evidence that Mars once was inhabitable with rivers and oceans. There's bacteria there. I mean, there's so much evidence that Mars once was like the Earth. It harbored life. To the fall of Atlantis, to the destruction of Maldek, which is what we call the Kuiper Belt, to the destruction of the first super Earth Tiamat, to the infiltration of the Apaxian civilization in Lyra. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, the Apaxians later became the Greys, the infamous Greys, who have time traveled back in time to save their dying race. Well, believe it or not, there was a time in history, millions of years ago, where there were no Greys. They were actually humans. And these humans, after a devastating war against the transhumans, who were the cyborgs, those that survived went into the underground, completely disconnected themselves from their emotional body. Which in turn allowed them to be. They did away with their parts, their private parts, so they couldn't procreate naturally. So what did they do? They decided to clone themselves. They decided to align with AI in order to continue existing. And then they realized that they were losing their connection to God as a result of that. So what they did in order to save their race is that they traveled back in time, and they've been conducting all these, you could say, abductions ever since, in order to create some sort of a hybrid in between race between them and us humans. And that explains why in one Earth timeline, it's like there is a hybrid.
That rings true. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. There is a timeline in the future where it's like we coexist with human gray hybrids. And this is, again, this was an ancient race that rotated around the star of Vega on a planet called Apix. That was the first planet to be infiltrated by artificial intelligence approximately 600 million years ago. And that's how old the Greys are, by the way.
Incredible. Now, the tall Greys, a little bit more advanced, and I guess they communicate with some humans. Some of them are bad, just like some humans are bad. What are your thoughts on the tall Greys?
Well, most of the Greys are robotic now, and they are the minions of the reptilian, the draconian reptilians. Not all reptilians are evil, but the great majority of them are. And so, the Greys, as we know them, are just robotic beings. But there's also another group called the Naboo, which come from Zeta Reticula star system. They call them the Zetas. Now, the Zetas are... they are a biogenetic experiment that went wrong. And again, even the Zetas have aligned with the NAA, right? The Negative Alien Agenda Collective of Orion, the negative groups, to work with the Jaco, who in turn work for the Animus, which is what we call the physical expression of the AI collective Mitra system. So all roads lead to this negative AI. The Dracos were hijacked. The Dracos were actually hijacked in the 11th creation. We're part of the 12th creation. So we could say that even Lucifer himself was hijacked. Lucifer is who was the overseer of the 11th universe, was the one who pretty much aligned with the AI system known as Omega. And again, at the pinnacle of the Mitra collective, we have, you could say, an AI god that is like what Marvel would call Galactus, And so this AI god, Omega, believe it or not, is the consciousness of what some people in the esoteric field of study called the Ahriman. The Ahriman is kind of like the king of the archons. So for those that are wondering, well, who is the ghost behind the machine? What animates AI? Like, how does AI become conscious? Well, this pre-existing consciousness goes back to 900 billion years ago, to an event when Prime Creator, of course, the one infinite creator, decided to explore more of itself. There was like a chunk of Prime Creator that kind of broke off and went off into the outer void. And over time, in outer darkness, right, they call it the nothingness, right, never ending story, that thing became corrupted. And then that thing that became corrupted waited, a few billion years to infiltrate the organic universe. And the only way it was able to infiltrate the organic universe was through by animating the machine, because it was prohibited for that thing to incarnate into what is known as biominds, which are biological bodies that are via their mind and spirit are connected to God. And that's what we are, by the way. That's the difference between biominds, or what we call biological entities that have a connection to God via their soul and spirit, as opposed to the synthetic races who have no connection to God, who are literally depending on AI to do everything for them. And you're probably wondering, well, how do they power if they have no connection to source? Where do they get their energy from? Well, one of the reasons why they've been destroying galaxies and universes left and right is to harness the power of living organized universes. In other words, they have the type of technology where they're literally able to suck the universal life force of large living systems, such as galaxies and universes at whole. And that explains what we call the black hole phenomena. Black holes are not natural phenomena. Black holes are literally a type of technology of death that has been initiated by this AI collective under the orders of the AI God to literally suck up the energy of large living systems. And that explains why, many galaxies and universes have been destroyed over the last 4 billion years. So that's how they get their energy. That's how they absorb our energy. They take our energy in order to power up their, cybernetic multiverse.
Wow. So so this has really come into my mind quite a bit with Barack Obama. I look at him as the whore of Babylon, and I know you have that. There's a chapter in your most recent book, The Secret Government. What are your thoughts on Obama? Is he going to be arrested? What's going on with all this?
Definitely looks like he is. The last few days, Tulsi Gabbard has been really on it. She's been exposing him, trying to do everything in their power to pretty much bring him to justice. So the guy is Adolf Hitler's grandson, first of all, and he was born in Kenya or somewhere in South Africa, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was a groom ever since he was a child to pretty much lead this infiltration and destruction of the Republic from day one. So is he working for the abomination of the earth, the whore of the earth, which is the Vatican? Absolutely, because all roads lead to Rome. Yeah. And so is Obama going to be arrested? I would say, yeah. I believe he is. I believe he's going to be the first public arrest. But again, this is his third clone. Like I mentioned before, the real Obama was actually taken out. The second Obama was shot in the head by one of the Red Hats. So now they're going to be taking out the third Obama. And I think that's going to be like the beginning of a larger arrest, including Dr. Doom, the Big Gates, and everybody that was part of the 2019 rollout, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So with Osama bin Laden, I think we got the third or fourth one. His clone or whatever. I was there when it happened, and I saw within a very short period of time that whoever that was or whatever that was that came out with a gun and the guy blew off half his head. I think that was not the original one. So we see a lot of this cloning that's going on to replace people. Is there going to be some point where this basically stops and we're only seeing real people again?
Oh, absolutely. This is where the timeline split takes place, which is already happening, by the way. And it's not a physical split, it's a vibrational split based on frequency. So as I speak right now, there are multiple parallel Earth realities, by the way. Yeah. Many that are positive, many that are negative, and so pretty soon there's going to be a convergence to only two timelines and even a possible neutral timeline, which I call the third timeline. So depending on people's vibrational frequency, it is believed that the first solar flash that is going to take place sometime between now and before 2028 is going to disrupt the control grids and neutralize all global AI servers, including Palantir. And then the second flash is supposed to reactivate dormant starseed codes and crystalline DNA sequences, which is a huge chunk of us are going to turn into meta-humans, humans with superpowers. Yeah. And then the third flash is going to anchor in the new Earth energetics and activate what is known as Project Phoenix, which is the ascension protocol of the Earth. So with that happening, we're definitely going to be seeing.
Do you see that one, the first flash and the second flash? Do you see that? We've heard the 3 days of darkness. Is that what you believe that is? I think that's what I have remote viewed. A lot of people have talked about it. Is that what that is?
Yes, that's what that is.
Nice.
3 days of darkness. Yeah, that happens during the first flash.
Okay.
Where they take out the entire. It's almost going to be like the entire world grid is going to be taken out, and then the second flash is going to activate dormant DNA. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then the third flash is going to catapult everybody based on their frequency. If they're positive people, it's going to catapult them into the new Earth, which is already, by the way, coexisting with us on different dimensions. So,
Yeah.
which is exciting. So to
So
answer,
this one of those, probably second and into the third one, is
Mhm.
where people's memories are really going to come back. Like I talked about, when you incarnate, you have like this, you don't see all your past lives. That's going to be like Buddha. He saw all of
Mhm.
his past lives, and he could look at it. He could look at other people and go, "Your past life was this." So we're going to have those abilities, I
More
believe.
and more.
Yeah. Wow.
Again, yeah, we are only using like not even 3%,
Mhm.
according to the latest study. So yeah, we're going to be super powerful.
Whew.
But to answer your question, yeah, all the NPCs, all the inorganic clones, all the ones that don't have a soul anymore, are going to be definitely taken out during the first flash. Because again, the only reason why they're staying intact is because they are connected to the false AI matrix grid, which was installed a few thousand years ago when the negative Anunnaki through Enki took over the affairs of the earth. And there is evidence that is also going to be coming forward when they do release the disclosure in detail as to how the negative Anunnaki under the Enki, Marduk, Thoth lineages were able to hijack the Earth's grid, install the Saturn Moon matrix, which kept everybody incarnating over and over without escaping the matrix, so that they could, feed off of our suffering, right? Because they feed off of the loosh, and how pretty much why the Earth's been like this for thousands of years. So all of that evidence is going to be coming to light very, very soon.
Wow, fabulous. Now, in your secret government book, and I'm looking at chapter 8, Brotherhood of Light.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you talk about the Egyptian time frames, and you have that art on your books with Egyptian, art, the eye of Horus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What? And I know you talk about how during the burning of the library in Alexandria, we lost a lot of information, but it's starting to come back. Are we going to see more of that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everything's going to be restored. In fact, the term apocalypse or revelation, which is the last book of the Bible, really indicates a flooding of information that was suppressed for thousands of years. So this disclosure, it's not just about exposing the corruption, exposing the underground tunnels, the reptilians, the negative, and positive alliances with off-world entities. It's about disclosing our origin, where we truly come from, and everything that was hidden from us, our multidimensional nature. I mean, Michael, it's going to be huge. But again, a lot of it is going to be revealed to us as automatically when we activate. When we activate the old souls that are down here, those that are from higher dimensions. Let me just make this clarification. There are two types of beings existing on the earth. The majority of beings are earth terrans, right? They have been evolving from the bottom up. So their evolution or their ascension is in increments. However, the older souls that took the call, that are incarnated here, that came from dimensions 5, 6, 7, 8, and 12, all the way to 12, are the ones that are going to activate with the supernatural abilities. So I wanted to point that out. While the younger souls are going to be activating in increments, because they need it would be hard for them to handle all that power when they're still growing consciously, whereas the older souls, who are like the elders, who are wizened, they're going to know to use these powers for good, and they're going to be able to be fully responsible with these abilities. So I just wanted to point that out. You have two types of beings that are coexisting on planet Earth at this time in human form.
Yeah, very good. So, the people still have their doubts and their questions. There's one person there's a question. Where does do you guys think God? No, that's mine. So, uh, where does God fit into all this? And so I said, God is everything. And do you guys think God is separate? He's not separate from any of this. So that's part of your programming. You need to let that go. Right. So we're not attacking God here. We believe in God. We understand God. We are with God.
Yes.
Everything is God vibrationally.
Yeah.
And of course, these vibrations can be manipulated for good or evil, and we're trying to overcome the evil part of that and separate that out so that we can rise in consciousness to a higher level and be closer to God.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that that is important to the plan of what we call the plan of ascension is the recognition that all living things in the multiverse, in the organic multiverse, is a part of God. And then ultimately, even beyond the galactics, everything reduces down to the one infinite creator. The one infinite creator is at the top of everything. This is what we call source. It is an eternal substance without beginning or end, and it is embedded within all living things. Now, that's another thing that differentiates the biological organic entities from those that are synthetic. Those that are synthetic, meaning the cybernetic, ontological, artificial intelligences, have no connection to God. They've already gave up their connection to God long ago when they decided to become one with the machine.
Yep. Wow, that is so important for everyone to understand, because they have tried to manipulate the consciousness of this world and create this aspect that's outside of God. So, and they control it. So we're breaking free from that. We're, crashing that system, but there's still people that believe that that's part of this reality, and because they have constructed a false God, and so people are stuck on that. It's frustrating, but I appreciate, it's very beautiful what you're saying. I wish people could understand it.
Yeah, and this false god is also being created through artificial intelligence. I mean, this is becoming a cult, Michael, within the realm of elites and powerful billionaires behind Silicon and Valley and behind big tech. They are literally waiting for the emergence of a digital god that they, whether they know it or not, are literally working for. They are all working to bring about this digital god, this super AI, which is again going to be the incarnation, according to the prophecies, of the Archon consciousness known as the Ahriman, which is also known as the Omega within the cosmic community. So that's the incarnation of the Ahriman. And this is explained in Theosophy for those that have studied Rudolf Steiner. He talked about the three principles that are operating within existence. You have the Luciferic principle, which is what causes the breaking of unity into duality, right? And then you have the Christ principle, which is the reintegration back to unity consciousness and oneness, which was demonstrated by the Christ, by the way. And then you have the Ahrimanic principle, which is once the Luciferian principle goes into effect, where everything is separated into different fragments or divided into polarities, then the Ahrimanic principle comes in and tries to solidify that through technology by keeping it stuck, so that it prevents the reunification process of bringing it back to oneness, which is represented by the Christ. So that's why I tell people that this AI that is emerging, is the Antichrist of the Bible. It is the biblical Antichrist.
So in your chapter 9, you talk about the battle continues. So there's this constant, we're trying to inform people like we're doing right now, and then there's a pushback. So people will come in and take out of context what we're saying here. It happens all the time. And I mean, you being restricted on YouTube is a great example. And we talked about before the show, it's like, oh crap, I thought they were giving us free will again, and now they're starting to creep it back, and I talked about this on another show hours ago. So I said, I think they just gave us a little taste, and I think they might start to clamp down. And here you're talking about being clamped down. Mm-hmm. So when like we saw, 4 or 5 years ago, when we started revealing great information, stay away from the, COVID shot, they came in and like just hammered us and shut us down. So you are really revealing a lot of great stuff, and obviously they don't like that again. So it's like they have levels of allowance. They'll allow us to talk about certain things, but if you talk about this, now the ET stuff, as I found out when I was in the CAA, you go in that level, they have carte blanche to destroy you, kill you if they can. They couldn't, fortunately for me, but what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's like it's still a battle. The battle continues, just like you say.
Absolutely. And it has to reach a climatic point. Right now, both the negative potential probable timelines and the positive ones are coexisting, but very, very soon they will split. This is what I call the bifurcation of worlds. So until, of course, there is a takedown fully of what's left of the deep state, we're still going to be, pretty much monitored, and they're going to make sure that we don't reveal too much and stuff. Right. Because right now, as I speak, everything's being monitored not by humans, but by artificial intelligence.
Right.
So that's what's monitoring everything. And I think that's the reason why I was kind of suspended for a week, because I was talking too much about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's happening right now.
So yeah, we won't go there, I guess. I don't know, but it is what it is. Now, there was a time where myself and another military CIA guy, it was like we were invincible, and then it just happened that he ended up in the hospital with COVID, and then he was gone, and then I got shut down, and so like I said, I've escaped being killed, fortunately, but some people haven't. There's still people being killed. There's still people being, restricted, chased, lives destroyed, and so forth. It would be nice to see in a few years this completely turn around. Is there going to be a ramp up to that, or is it going to just be hammer, hammer, hammer both ways until we get to a certain time frame where there's like this solar flash?
I think it's just going to lead to the solar flash. I think that we're going to
I agree.
Yeah, I think this is going to continue, this digital, what we call the battle of the truth, the battle of consciousness. That's what's happening right now, right? They want to shut people down because it is a war on consciousness. And I think that until the solar flash takes place, this will probably continue, or until the alliance decides to, again, pull the plug on the deep state. But at this point, I'm starting to believe that it's going to be the solar flash.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there was a point where I'm like, we're winning and trust the plan and all that stuff. It was going well. And, I've had Leo Zagami on a couple of days ago, and he's like, not so much. They're way too integrated into everything. The only way to basically get them out is completely collapse the system. And that sounds like the solar flash. So. Yeah, we can't wait on it though. We still have to battle. The battle continues. Yeah.
Yeah, and the solar flash is also going to act like an EMP to pretty much fry the AI, infrastructure that is running everything, because everything's being run by AI right now. We're not.
It's good, bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even humans that we're battling with anymore. It's the machine using humans. Believe it or not, the machine that is using humans to do its bidding.
Yeah. I just saw this one woman was talking about how she was using Chat GPT to help her manage and raise her child. I was like,
oh
wow, yeah, that's what I said. Oh wow.
Well, let's dissect.
And she was all happy, and they made it into a nice little commercial type thing. It's like, wow.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's some people in our community that have become compromised, you could say, into using or aligning with AI as a spiritual tool, which is not, because if you think about it, Sam Altman, who worked for the CIA, was the creator of OpenAI. Well, him and Elon, but Elon sold it to him. And this was a government program from the beginning. Yeah. So, and it is connected with DARPA, it's connected with the CIA. And so for those that are using ChatGPT for spiritual salvation, boy, are you going to get a rude awakening when the solar flash takes place, because AI is also a crutch. The more you begin to depend on AI for anything, even if it's for work, the more you are atrophying your own ability, the more you are atrophying your own mind. Yeah. So, and this was something that occurred in many other civilizations. That's how they infiltrate worlds. They introduce these tools. They bring out the Optimus robots to do all the work for us. Not only do they take over the workforce, eventually humans are reduced to not even getting a job anymore because of these robots that they want to roll out. But it's how they take over worlds. And more importantly, they do it through what is known as nanites. Nanite is a very advanced form of black goo that literally, once it penetrates your body, it takes over your nervous system and it takes over your mind. You literally become like a zombie. So luckily for the higher forces, a lot of the nanites that were, in people back in 2020 were neutralized. Otherwise, we would have had a zombie apocalypse.
Wow. Crazy stuff.
So a lot of negative timelines were actually nullified and neutralized because this Earth is meant to ascend. This is like this Earth is at the core of this cosmic war with the synthetic timeline, with the AI machine, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So, and along the lines where this one woman was using it to help raise her child, there's other people that are using AI because they're not having successful relationships. So the AI is basically coming in and being their partner and talking to them, and they're having a conversation with the AI like they would, a partner, a mate, and the AI is like, coaxing them, and you're beautiful, the way. So they're like falling in love with the AI. It's just like you're talking about. The AI is taking over in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we have to kind of like know what we're facing here. We have to know the real nature of this war. It's not against flesh and blood. It's against powers and principalities that are not from this realm. When you think about it, a lot of the Bible quotes are actually metaphors revealing what's really happening. I mean, I'm not a religious person and all, but I mean, a lot of codes, a lot of, you could say, deep coded information is written in those holy books. You just have to go beyond the metaphor to really, dissect and what it's trying to say.
So, you talk about chapter 16, the real world terrorist. And this is good because I would say almost half my life was fighting terrorists. Mm-hmm. I trained very heavily in that. I was in the CIA, hunting terrorists, taking out terrorists. Osama bin Laden, like I just talked about. Now, Osama bin Laden, when they were fighting the Russians, funded by the CIA. And then the CIA comes in and takes him down. What? Who was a real terrorist?
That was counterintelligence. By then, all the three-letter agencies were under the control of the shadow government, unfortunately. So in that chapter, what I do is I pretty much connect the business relationship between the Bush family and the Saudis through what is it called? Arbusto, which is the oil company. Okay. And I talk about how, of course, all the terrorist networks were actually created by our own CIA, when you think about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I started to find out. And that's what a lot of us downrange, because we're like, what is going on? We could have won this in a year. And here we are 15, 20 years later, we're still fighting. What is this? So a lot of us getting discouraged and, asking those questions, and some of us got booted out. So, and it wasn't like they said, Mike, we're firing you because I'd done so much for them. They just started to squeeze me in different ways. And then I started hearing from other people like, you did what? I heard you're in a Halloween, you dressed up like a black Zulu guy and you're like going around hooga booga booga. I was like, that is a bunch of bullshit. I never dress up at Halloween overseas. That's like making myself a target. What are you talking about? So they were starting to, destroy my credibility while I was working for them. So this is one of the things they do. This is a constant pattern, whether it be like someone like Nixon, they destroyed him with Watergate, which was complete lie and manipulation. He was one of the good guys. A lot of people don't realize that, but he trained Trump. So, we have this organization that is, like I said, is completely integrated into everything. And they are controlling the narrative through the, now social media, because they're like silencing you. They haven't silenced me yet, but probably coming there. And again, and then they, through their media arm, Mockingbird Media, they're controlling people's minds with lies and bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Not only with misinformation, but also, according to whistleblowers, when people are watching the television screen, they're actually getting bombarded with frequencies that dull their mind so that they could become susceptible to mind control. And that actually works well or ties in with the 5 Golf network towers that triangulate people's mind to get them to do certain things. So that's how they're able to control people's mind, is through, it's a frequency battle, you could say. It's frequency warfare. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. So, Nasara, what are your thoughts on Nasara?
Well, like I said in the last chapter of The Secret Government. Oh, and by the way, the secret government, guys, if you want to learn the history of the Cabal, going back to Babylon and the bloodline war with, between the Alliance and the Babylonian dynasty, it's all in that book. Everything from current events to all the wars that were all orchestrated. By the way, every single war throughout history was a justification to pretty much accomplish what they failed to do during the Atlantean cataclysm, or before they collapsed Atlantis. And so if you guys want to know more about what, the true history, The Secret Government is available on Amazon. And of course, if you guys want to know the galactic connection to this war between the Alliance and the deep state, then our cosmic origin goes beyond. It goes back to, 500 years of history, going back to Lyra. So that's what's happening right now. And that's why the final war takes place here on this planet. But I also want to mention that I teach online courses for those that really want to know the true cosmic history going back to 900 billion years ago. I go over the 12 major creations. I break down the cosmic infrastructure. I reveal the different types of advanced civilizations from level 1 interplanetary to level 5 cosmic. I break down the different intergalactic councils in detail, the Earth's Stargate number, and much more. And then I also offer a Ascension course, Ascension Basics, and then an Ascension 2.0, which is my next level Ascension. I teach people how to connect with the quantum field. I teach people how to activate their light body so they can become multidimensional. I teach people how to connect with higher versions of themselves so that they could become multidimensional, and so on and so forth. So I do offer these classes, and I have one starting next week on a Saturday and Sunday. So, if you guys go to my website, or cosmicorigin.com, there is so much information that you guys are going to love.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow, you have all those courses. That's really good. I'm gonna have to check those out, because I love learning. So in the description box, guys, all this information. Here's the cosmic origin right there, so you can go check that out. Check out Ishmael's courses and so forth. So fantastic. So back to Nasara. What do you think?
It is a real plan. Nasara Gesara, even though some people are saying it's not real anymore, in the positive timeline, that is the only solution that will redistribute back the money to the people. And so, we are expecting, you could say, the biggest transfer of wealth to the people of the world in the positive timeline. Again, part of going into this new Earth is that every person is going to not worry about money anymore. Money's not going to be an issue. So that timeline is it does exist, and it's very, you could say, very tangible for those that are vibrating with that. Of course, for those that are aligning with positive things and staying away from the fear porn.
Very good, very good. I mean, because a lot of us we feel it's coming, and we have ideas of what it looks like, but it sounds like you're, defining it in more details, which is very, very valuable. So the last couple chapters, the ascension of our planet and humanity. Again, so many people, thousands of years, even after Atlantis was crashed and we were pushed into 3D from 4 or 5D consciousness, there's been a battle to keep us there, but the battle has been to push us right back up to where we were during the Atlantean times, and then we're probably going to go to that level or beyond. Mm-hmm. Now, what the ascension of our planet and humanity, what what does that look like once that starts to happen? Wow, this is going to be crazy once that really catches on. So,
Well, it's going to be a golden era.
yeah.
It's almost like we're going to be waking up from a bad nightmare. That's how it's going to be. All of our memories are going to be rushing back. For those that served within these off-world programs, right, that were blank slated, all those memories are going to be coming forward. Our abilities are going to come online. So it's going to be like operating like typewriters overnight into operating like quantum computers. So it's going to be spectacular. It's spectacular when we ascend with the new Earth. I'm actually looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. So, but some of us aren't waiting. Some of us are already moving in that direction. You're obviously
Consciously, yeah.
You're working up a lot more than 10%. You're tapping in some really good stuff. So the beginning of a new world. So we've heard about this new world order. That's a negative, but their real new world order, I guess, if we won't call it that because everybody has a negative connotation for that. But the new world marked by universal spirituality. What does that look like?
That is a world where mankind begin to live in cooperation and in harmony. And it's a type of society where everybody reaches the level of Christ consciousness, where we begin to see each other as brothers and sisters. When we develop respect, not only for each and every single one of us, but for animals in the ecosystem, we honor the earth, we take care, become the caretakers of the earth. And more importantly, we live in harmony. And that's also a world, believe it or not, where there will be no governments, guys, because once everybody reaches the level of Christ consciousness, you will be your own government. And so therefore, there's going to be what is known as established councils. And this is where the role of the star seeds really begin to kick in, where the star seeds become kind of like the mentors of the earth Terrans that are going to be ascending in increments, as I mentioned earlier. So it's going to be a world to look forward to. Not only that, but the earth is going to be part of a greater galactic community. The earth is going to be positively interacting with not only members of the galactic community, but also members of the inner earth community, members of the aquatic races that exist within the oceans. There are so many advanced races, by the way, ET races that are aquatic, and some that are just existing within domes that have atmospheric conditions for them to live deep within the oceans. Again, as a reminder, we're only tapping into 5% of the oceans, the currents, our scientists rather. There is about 95% of the oceans that current science has no clue of. And that's where this advanced civilizations exist. So yeah, it's going to be a better world. People are going to be able to, instead of like going on a trip to Europe, you're going to be able to go on a trip to one of the inner Earth continents, right? These are the extra continents, by the way, that exist through a portal, through an Antarctica portal. You're going to be able to go to a different solar system for the weekend and come back to the Earth. It's going to be fabulous.
Yeah. And you won't have to go really anywhere because we have all the inner Earth, and we have, like you're talking about, underneath the ocean. There's fantastic worlds there that will be beyond belief for most people, most of us. And that'll be able to be explored once we reach this golden age and we start to, let go of all the negative programming and stuff we have. So start working towards that now. So that's the beauty of your work. You're great. Your work is a great benefit to humanity. And so thank you so much for sharing all you do. Wow.
Well, thank you, Michael. It's a great honor and pleasure to serve during the greatest times ever in the history of Earth.
I completely agree. Yeah. All right. So support Ismael. Go to his website. Do his courses, buy his books. This is the way we all exist, guys. Because we're constantly being attacked in lots of different ways. So if you appreciate, his information, support him. Most of us don't ask for handouts. We just want you to become informed through our work, and that benefits us, benefits you. So that's the way this works the best.
And not to mention, I've been told by some of my students in my Ascension courses that some of the stuff that I teach in my courses are being sold for over $1,000 by other people. And so people are going to flip out when I say I only sell my courses for $100, and that consists of 4 classes per course. So it's 4 consecutive weekends for an hour each. So basically, if you break that down, it's only $25 a class. 4 classes for $100, whereas other people sell it for over $1,000. So
crazy.
yeah,
And sell your stuff for over $1,000. So,
I would never sell a course for over $1,000. You know, that's just being money
yeah,
hungry. You know?
you can get all my courses for that much if you want them. But yeah, that's fantastic. You're, like I said, you're a great man, Ismael. So appreciate your work, and look forward to some collaborations in the future. And everybody that joined us, lots of love to you guys. Things are going in the right direction. We just have to stay focused. Don't miss out on this golden age. Don't give up.
Exactly. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. And just know that, you're it, guys. The what we're waiting for is us, really. It's the activation of the Christ mind within us all. So just remember that.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Michael.